producing anything.
But
good
sure, he's
anymore.
produced enough, hasn't he? All the
Yes, but eventually you seem to.
Well,
run
he's
out.
gone. Do you know what? He's probably just he's done it, and
It's
he's still
like-
keeping his foot in. But
Yeah.
he's an older guy now, isn't he?
Okay, but listen, it's a little bit like bands that play, and they do their new album, and everyone says, "Oh, that's not bad," and then they do their hits, and then everyone jumps through the roof, right? Proclaimers, I'm thinking of, for an example.
Right.
Do you know?
Yeah.
It's very hard to keep relevant and keep doing good stuff. But anyway, that's the challenge. It's the same for me and you, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, it's hard to.
We're not producing music, are we?
No, but it's hard to.
We're producing content on radio.
I mean, you need to know when the time is right to pull the pin.
Well, you said, what did you say? 55?
Project 2030.
20. How many years ago was that now? 4?
3 and a bit.
Three and a bit? You're out of Dodge, are you? God almighty, will you take me along with you?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Where would you be on the boat somewhere? You would be on the boat. No. You would not be on the boat. What about hot country boat? No.
Nah,
boaty. You like the boaty?
See, it's all right you say those things, but there's no plan. I haven't thought about it.
No, well, sometimes no plans are good plans.
Like, it's all right going away somewhere, but then you're not close to where you're from, or, you know.
Yeah.
It's not everything that's cracked up.
Do you know it's about the green
A
fields?
lot of people seem to have this. If you had the money, and this is where the lotto might come into it, or the Highland Radio Super Summer Draw, is if you could sort of, people spend winter in one place and then summer in another. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, see, like 4 or 5 weeks away.
No, you'd head off in end of October to Spain or Portugal and then come back.
Right.
End of March. Wouldn't that be nice?
Very good. Buy the villa, Greg. Buy the villa. We're there. You have me. We can
All right,
broadcast
6
live from
9
there.
o'clock.
Come on.
Bye-bye.
Ah, good luck.
See you tomorrow morning. All right, it is 9 a.m. time for a news update. It's over to Donna Marie Doherty. Good morning, Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There will be no new tax breaks for developers in the upcoming budget. Housing Minister James Brown told the Business Post that the market is dysfunctional and can't survive without the current level of subsidies. He says the government is looking at how to transition away from those supports to try get the private sector standing on its own 2 feet. Director of Housing and Planning at Construction Industry Federation, Conor O'Connell, says over the past decade all housing systems haven't been working properly.
We've had a dysfunctional planning system, we've had a dysfunctional judicial review system and legal system, we've had a dysfunctional financing system for development finance with the banks, we've had a dysfunctional system for infrastructural investment. So all of those dysfunctions within the system has led to a dysfunction within the housing supply market.
Less than 1% of Ireland's trainee solicitors were based in Donegal last year. It's according to new data published by the Law Society of Ireland. There were just 3 trainee solicitors in the county out of 581 across the country. It means Donegal accounted for just 0.5%. Meanwhile, there were 148 practising solicitors in the county. Over half of under 35-year-olds believe they'll never be in a position to buy a home. Research from PTSB shows 61% of that age group are considering social housing and 55% are looking into long-term renting to secure a home. 1 in 4 renters who previously had not considered social housing are now open to it. Chief Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Officer at PTSB, Leona Fenton, says the research shows continued shift in attitudes towards home ownership.
What it's pointing to is, particularly in that under 35 age group, that they are looking for alternatives other than the traditional buying a home because of some of the challenges in the market today. So social housing, the increase in that is just over 10% of people looking for social housing in that under 35 age group. And we are seeing a higher proportion of that age group also considering long-term renting.
The number of Garda security cameras in the country is set to rise. New camera designs, which are more compliant with GDPR regulations, are being developed. Ireland currently has one of the lowest levels of CCTV use across Europe. There's just over 200 security cameras operated by Gardaí in Dublin, but that's set to rise to around 300 in the coming years, according to the Irish Independent. Looking now to the weather forecast, mist and fog has cleared away quickly to leave a dry day with sunny spells, turning hazy at times with highest temperatures of 19 to 21 degrees in light, occasionally moderate east or southeast winds. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
Were you in a mother and baby institution? If so, now is the time to apply to the payment scheme. You won't need to know exact dates or speak about your experience in detail. Everything you share will be treated confidentially, with respect, and we're here to help you through the process if you need it. contact us by visiting the website paymentscheme.ie or by calling this free phone number 1-800 843 354. That's 1-800 843 354. A message from the Government of Ireland.
The Talk of the Northwest, the Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning, 3 minutes past 9 on this Monday, and it is the 24th of August. You're very welcome along to another week, another edition of the Greg Hughes Show here in Highland Radio, and it's another cracker, another busy one for you. We look forward to your company over the next hour and 57 minutes. Lots to talk about. You can get involved in the conversation, or maybe there's something that happened over the weekend or something you observed that you want us to talk about. Get in touch. 086 60 25,000. If you're outside the Republic, it's 00353 86 60 25,000. Give us a call on 07491 25,000 or email comments@highlandradio.com. You're welcome to watch the show if that suits you. And maybe it'll suit you more when the children go back to school if you work from home or in the home, because we're available on your smart TV or your Fire Stick plugged into your TV. Just search the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland, and we're there. And we're streaming across Facebook and on the X platform as well, so we're everywhere. You might want to listen or watch. Let's start with the papers today. The Derry People Donegal News. A man who escaped death in a near-drowning tragedy has welcomed an initiative. It's an innovative initiative that will help to save lives. Donegal will be the first county in Ireland to benefit from the innovation. Brian Carr from Glenties, you might remember we spoke to him after this incident. He's a councillor as well, of course. He had to be rescued last August in waters between Ardra and Narran. Well, Brian, who is a Donegal County councillor, has since encouraged creation of measures to improve coastal rescue missions. He described this new initiative as an important initiative that will save lives. He also revealed that Donegal is to be the first county nationwide to have from the innovation, or it must be to benefit from to have the innovation. So we'll dig into that a little bit more to see what that's all about. On to the Derry news. Funeral of Derry fire victim to take place today. The man who died in a fire at a property in Derry last week has been named locally as Noel Rogers. Mr. Rogers, who was in his 60s, died suddenly after a fire at his flat in Bloomfield Park on Wednesday afternoon. If you were a regular listener to this programme, you would have heard me say that there was absolutely no way the government were going to be increasing the cost of fuel from the end of this month. It was never going to happen, and I couldn't understand why they would have allowed the opposition to make it sound like they put pressure on them to not do it, or why the government would have allowed further threats of protest to be made before they were going to make their inevitable decision. This is the question or the confusion I have about communication in politics, because as I say, they have the headroom. They could have done it. They were always going to do it, but they waited until it felt like they were being called on to do it, which I don't really understand. That would just be a little bit of advice to the government. It was obvious. Why did you allow it to come across like someone else was making the decision for you? But anyway, the continuation of fuel excise cuts to be approved by the Dáil next Friday will not affect the forthcoming budget. Cost associated with maintaining excise cuts on petrol and diesel have been estimated at about 100 million a month, according to sources familiar with recent decisions among coalition leaders. There is general agreement among ministers that the government could not be responsible for bringing the price of petrol or diesel above €2 a litre. A review of pricing is likely before any future reversal, with €2 per litre set as a tipping point. And again, you know, we've had this conversation on this programme 2-3 years ago, that €2 was the psychological figure. If you listen regularly, you would have heard me mentioning it, and now that has become the case. The government now will always try as much as it can to keep petrol and diesel under that €2 mark. We've been conditioned to sort of almost see anything starting with a 1 as not so bad, even though price of fuel is through the roof. Well, with prices of diesel currently in the low 190s on forecourts, the now paused reversal of excise cuts next week would have brought the price above €2 per litre. Cam Corla, Verona Murphy notified TDs on Friday that the Dáil would meet next Friday at noon on foot of a request from the Taoiseach. So it's effectively the worst kept secret in politics, but there you go. I'd be very interested to find out what the Donegal situation is. The Irish Independent has done a survey of childcare, and it makes for very, very difficult reading for anyone who's trying to work to pay a mortgage or to meet other monthly costs. But I don't know I genuinely don't really know what the situation here is in Donegal in terms of creche places, waiting lists and costs. And if you're out there, I would really appreciate... So, I mean, we're obviously inquiring within the industry ourselves, but I would love to know what the situation is locally, because often we get a national overview in the papers and things can be better or worse here. Well, the vast majority of creches have waiting lists of over a year, with the average monthly fee now €845. That's, though, before state subsidies apply. The Irish Independent surveyed 142 creches, finding 117 had waiting lists of at least 1 year. Some claimed they had over 200 children looking for a place. Providers claimed parents had called looking for creche places from the hospital days after giving birth. Others had babies put on the waiting list before they were even born. Many creches have been forced to close their waiting lists, such is the level of demand. And the Irish Independent contacted creches across Ireland posing as parents seeking a space for a child, which is a waste of creches time, but I suppose if that's what they had to do. Creches were asked about waiting lists, how much their weekly fees were before state subsidies, and their views on core funding, a government grant for providers that goes towards operational costs to help keep fees low. So again, are there waiting lists? Maybe you're within the creche sector as well too. It'd be very interested to hear. So we're hearing monthly fees, €845, which is more than a lot of people listening's mortgage. That would be the fees, but there are government subsidies, of course. Ringing from the hospital with your brand new baby trying to reserve a creche space. Does that go on up here or in and around this area? Let me know. 086 60 25,000 in confidence, or call us on 074 91 25,000. The Irish Daily Star today, and I'll just mention an awful 7 people killed in a crash in England, which was to all intents and purposes almost the exact same as the crash that cost 5 lives and left 4 people very seriously injured. Cops ended their chase after a car before its wrong way crashed into another police car that killed 7, including 2 officers. The UK's Independent Office for Police Conduct said yesterday that Cleveland police officers had aborted their pursuit of a Volkswagen Passat before the crash. Now, it's not been explained very well, but they were chasing this Passat through side roads. It then turned onto a motorway. They stopped at that point the chase because they were heading the wrong way up the motorway. And within 10 seconds, another police car, which was heading towards the area to offer support to their colleagues, they went head on into each other. So that's why the 10 seconds sounds like, that sounds a bit... But that's the framing of the event. So they turned into the traffic and almost immediately struck this other police vehicle. Unfortunately as well, 5 lives lost in the other car, but these guys had a reputation, or at least some of them, for stealing vehicles, and again, videoing the theft of vehicles, videoing the police chases, and posting those videos up online for likes and fame, etc. Now, this morning, as I do, opened up the phone, went through the usual websites I went on to TikTok, and again, it's still in my For You sort of algorithm. It's video after video of young men speeding in cars, evading police in cars, hot wiring cars. So, in other words, with all the conversation that's happening, we've had 2 massive tragedies now at this point. Social media companies are still promoting young people evading police and Gardaí and driving recklessly and that type of behaviour. And it's still being pushed to me because that's what the algorithm thinks that I'm interested in. I did note one slight change to it. Most of the videos had all the footage, but also were sending messages of road safety. It was kind of peculiar, as if they're finding a way around the algorithm. But anyway, TikTok's still pushing this content. Tens of thousands of likes on the videos that were fed to me this morning. But social media companies in the star here again are endangering society by failing to remove content that depicts dangerous and illegal activity. So just to put this into context, if you, a man or a woman, were to create a video on TikTok and flash your bits and pieces, that would be removed within seconds and you'd be banned from the platform because they have guidelines in relation to that. So it wouldn't be done by a person. The AI would be able to ascertain that there was some sort of nudity or inappropriate visuals, and instantly that imagery would be taken down off TikTok. They could do this straight away if they wanted to with these types of videos, is the point I'm trying to make. They have the AI that can do that. But anyway, social media companies are endangering society by failing to remove content that depicts dangerous and illegal activity, a cabinet minister had said. There has been increased attention on social media regulation after 5 teenagers died when their car was travelling the wrong way down the M9 and collided head-on with another vehicle, seriously injuring 3 women and a boy from the same family. The incident has drawn commentary about videos that have been posted on social media featuring youngsters driving dangerously. Peter Burke's the Enterprise Minister. He was commenting on it. I'm told, by the way, that those 3 women have a tough journey ahead of them, but it is hoped that they'll make a full physical recovery from their injuries. The emotional toll would be far more difficult to get over, I'd imagine. The Irish Daily Mail, Fianna Fáil backbenchers fear they'll be forced to vote against funding for a drug to treat Frederick's ataxia, just weeks after publicly calling for it to be reimbursed by the state. A large campaign has been mounted to secure funding for Skyclarys to treat the condition, which affects around 200 people in the country. However, this month, the HSE Drugs Evaluation Group, the National Centre for Pharmaceutical Economics, did not recommend the state pay for the drug, which would cost around €200,000 per patient per year. All members of the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party, apart from Junior Minister Catherine Arda, signed a letter calling on the state to pay for the drug. But with the Dáil returning in September, Fianna Fáil TDs now expect an opposition motion to be tabled calling for the drug to be funded, putting pressure on government TDs who want it approved by the HSE. A tricky one. It's a very serious issue, and hopefully it gets resolved, and this may help. But that's an interesting motion for the opposition to have as a new Dáil gets underway, because you'll have to back up your words in the chamber if you're a Fianna Fáil backbencher, for an example. And what do you think about these proposals? Higher cigarette prices are the only way to shift our stubborn smoking rate. This is in The Sun. The Irish Heart Foundation is calling for excise duty on a 20-pack of cigarettes to be increased by 5% above inflation every year, and this would mean a hike of $1.60 in budget 2027, which would bring the price of the most popular pack to over that €20 mark. Can you imagine handing over at least 20 a day? €20.60. That being said, what was it, the percentage given about the amount of smokers that smoke black market cigarettes? Was it 60%, someone said? So that is definitely, because if you need to smoke, you have to smoke. It's very hard to quit. So it's not hard to find these cigarettes off the back of a lorry, so to speak. Maybe it needs something more nuanced than simply just forcing people to buy cigarettes illegally. I don't know. Very interested in anything you have to say on any of those topics. Here's how you get in touch with the show.
The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio. Text WhatsApp 086 60 25000. Call 074 91 25000 or email comments@highlandradio.com.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today. It's here, the new Opel Frontera. Join Manor Motors for the Frontera Test Drive event and discover the wow, the new family fun SUV from Opel. With big comfort, huge space and room for 7. Choose hybrid or electric and make every drive a new adventure. Get behind the wheel at Manor Motors, your Opel dealer. Now with 5 years unlimited warranty. The new Opel Frontera. Fun has found its family.
Looking for a great family day out this summer? Step back in time at Donegal County Museum in Letterkenny. Discover Donegal's fascinating past through Stone Age axes, World War I medals, and unique railway memorabilia. Young explorers can become detectives with the fun Donegal Museum Detectives Backpack. And don't miss the exhibition Rockwell Kent, an American artist in Donegal, exploring the artist's time in Glenlock in 1926. Best of all, admission is completely free. For details, call 074 912 4613. Email museum@donegalcoco.ie or visit Donegal County Museum on Facebook. Donegal County Museum. Discover the stories that shaped Donegal.
From the first time they lose a
baby tooth, look, Dad,
to the countless times they forget to mention their
ingredients for homework tomorrow.
Kids grow up fast. Luckily, at Tesco, we have back-to-school gear that grows with them, including trousers and skirts with adjustable hems and waists, so you can focus less on the cost and more on all this. Tesco. Every little helps. Available in the majority of larger stores.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is exactly 20 minutes past 9. Right, a couple of guests on the programme now. Let's go first to Pat Brady, owner of the Kitchen Restaurant in Letterkenny. Good morning to you, Pat. Thanks so much for joining us.
No bother, Greg. Thank you. Morning to you too, and to the listeners.
Right, you've said it's quite a big statement. It's impossible to do business in Letterkenny. What's this about?
Well, I was a post I put up on Friday after getting a parking ticket outside the cafe on Facebook. I didn't quite expect to get the reaction I got to it, to be honest with you, Greg. I put it up at the time when I was very annoyed. We have a cafe just opposite McGinley's on the corner of Lower Main Street, and obviously we come back and forward to the cafe during the day, but there was once we come to the main street and put our van there, we have to be gone out of it within the 2 hours. We can't come back at any stage again during the course of the day. Even though our business, the van clearly marked, we're there at 7:30 every morning. We open up. We try and get as much done as possible, because obviously it's not in our interest for somebody to park in the street all day, every day. We want the street as clear as possible, and that to work. But for somebody who's doing business, to come back, to try and get everything out, if we get delayed, you end up with a €40 ticket, which is what happened on Friday morning. Whereas the van was there from 7:30 in the morning. The guy went down the street at 29 minutes past 9, and he obviously raced back up at 10 o'clock to get a ticket on the van before I could get out to put a parking ticket. And as a matter, I haven't had a parking ticket on the van for a number of months at this stage, so it hasn't. But it is an issue, and it's stopping people calling, coming in for a coffee, coming in, and if they get delayed more than a half an hour, we have a lot of builders every Friday morning. They've stopped coming because of the parking on the main street.
Pat, what do you think would be the solution then?
I think probably the first, in general, it's not an issue. And as I say, I haven't had a ticket for a long time, and most of the attendants operate an amount of common sense to come down the street, to take a car. If they come back in an hour's time, it's still there, to give them a ticket. And that's 100%, as far as I'm concerned. That's the way it should be. But unfortunately, every now and again, somebody seems to get dropped in, and that all changes. And literally, they're waiting for the half an hour to be up and come back. And that's just driving business off the main street. Why on a Friday morning would you not go to down to the Century Cinemas or down to the retail parks to get your breakfast, or up to Kelly's. What would bring you to the main street to face this sort of harassment while you sit there for half an hour?
I understand the phraseology, but it's not harassment if you're ticketed for parking illegally, Pat, is it? I mean, it's just the enforcement of the laws.
I accept that, and that's 100%. But if you take from our point of view as a business, so if I come in the morning and I put a ticket on that van, and I have to come back in the afternoon, I can't legally park anywhere near my premises on the main street. I actually have to take a chance on getting a ticket. So I can't, as a business person, I can't literally come back to my own premises at any stage after paying my 2-hour parking. I'm complete. The news loading there to us.
So just to be clear, that because I wasn't fully aware of that, because it never. So in other words, you can't pay for parking and then park for 2 hours and then come back and pay for parking again.
Absolutely not. You can only park for 2 hours at any place on the main street, so you can't come back to anywhere on the main street after the 2 hours. That's you done. You're gone. You have a half an hour free, and then you have your 2 hours to pay for. And obviously you can do it in the app, but you can, if you go on the Donegal parking app and you see it, you're not allowed reapply for parking on the main street once you've your 2 hours done.
Yeah, and I think almost there's almost two issues going on here, if you don't mind, and I might split them up a little bit, especially with our next guest, because one is the strict enforcement of the rules, right? And we can have different views in relation to that. The other is the fact that you're saying you can't legally park for 3 hours on Letterkenny Main Street in one day.
Correct.
Okay.
And not only that,
go on. No, if there's more, you like Jimmy Cricket. Go on. There's more.
No. That's effectively the same. If you only have 1 half hour free, so if you get your half hour free this morning and you go up, if you come back in the afternoon again, that half hour doesn't exist the next time around. But so you can't, once you've paid your ticket. And in actual fact, if you just pay for an hour in the morning, you can't come back to park again on the main. You won't get an option to park again on the main street once you've used your parking on the main street. You have to return within 2 hours, and the car has to be moved.
Okay, so just to be clear, that sounds like that. But say I physically buy a ticket. So you're saying if I park in the morning for 2 hours, right, and I go in and I have a lovely meal in the kitchen restaurant, and then I decide to go for a massage in the evening. Are you saying if I in the afternoon, if I buy a ticket, another ticket in a physical machine and put in my windscreen, theoretically I could get done for parking?
Absolutely, 100%. Because if you're the app, you can't. You're not allowed to do that. That's the big issue, that we can't keep coming back. It's not about the ticket. It's not about paying for the parking. Because you're right. I actually totally agree that you don't want somebody parking on the main street all day. You don't want staff coming in, leaving the car there. That stops people going to the bank, stops people going to all the business. So you definitely don't want that.
The one thing I will say to you, not that it matters, but if I parked, this is me being completely honest, Pat. Because we could everyone has different wiggle room. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 15? If I parked outside the kitchen restaurant and I went in and I come out after 35 minutes and I had a parking ticket, I would be peed off. But you know what I would say? Fair cop. That's what I would say. I'd say I shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, and I would be, if I had my car outside and it happened to me, I would be 100% exactly the same.
But I would be peed off. I would be beat off. There's no doubt about that.
Look at and over the years we have been. The other thing as well, and that in particular seems to be an issue lately, is that there's the tax discs. The particular wards check away the tax disc. So you have people with brand new cars who come into town, and if that person is in operation, they won't come to the main street because they get a ticket for not having.
No, that's true. And change of ownership. I said that to my young fella. He was waiting for the logbook back, and I said, "Don't be parking near Letterkenny."
Exactly. So for you to say that, so don't park near Letterkenny Main Street. From a business point of view, I mean that's absolute kamikaze stuff.
Stay there. We have Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly. Two issues here. The first one. A little bit of grace, Donald. What's your views in relation to that? Again, because I think it's because I cover so much to do with parking bays for the disabled, and I was only going to be 5 minutes and that kind of stuff. Not every town in this county has half an hour grace, and now we maybe want to push that out a little bit or whatever. What's your view in relation to it?
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Can you hear me there? Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Listen, Greg, I suppose, there's a bit of confusion and around the parking laws, and that's something that I have raised on numerous occasions, that it needs to be made more clearly, particularly on our main street in Letterkenny. And I've asked, at our last workshop where we were going through the parking bylaws, which will be going out to public consultation. I'm just not, there's no date set for it, but I would urge the public to attend the public consultation and express their views, and particularly the businesses in Letterkenny Main Street and surrounding areas. But I have asked very clearly that there is, for an example, Greg, that certain colours of signs be put on our main street to clearly outline the parking laws and particular areas. But that said, I was listening to Pat there, and I've seen his post on Facebook as well. There needs to be more of a common sense approach from our traffic wardens. And, Greg, businesses, particularly in our main street, as Pat says, it's very easy for people to park outside of town, but for to come into our main street and our half-hour parking. And that needs to be very clear. And this is where a lot of people get caught out. People think if they park, say, outside the kitchen, they have a half hour free. If they come out and get into the car and say go around the town again and park outside, say, for example, Brian McCormick Sports, they think they have another half hour free. That is not the case. Yeah. You only have the 1 half hour. And, that's where people's getting confused. But on the other side of that, Greg, and I have been contacted on different occasions, I'm not afraid to say it, a bit of arrogance as well from our wardens, and I'm not tarring them all with one brush, but where people are confused and clearly made a mistake and hold their hands up, and I think that's the time. Can I just jump in here?
And I never thought I would do this, but can I jump here in defence of the parking wardens? They hear every excuse under the book. Every excuse. And then when they try and enforce the rules, they get a mouthful of abuse in relation to it. You get half an hour's free parking per day in Letterkenny. You don't get that in the Twin Towns. I don't think you get that in Buncrana, do you? There was talk about it. I don't believe you do. So you get half an hour free. And then people want to push it out to 35 minutes or 36 minutes or 37. Where does it end? A parking attendant has to... What about if I want to come in and go to the kitchen restaurant, right? But another book who's finished and is just chatting, having tea and looking for free extra water, they're still sitting there taking up that parking space. Pat, I want to come in and eat in your restaurant, but the builders are doing top up after top up and not paying for the parking. Come on.
Yeah, but listen, Greg, I totally understand where you're coming from and agree with you as well in cases. Now, there is genuine cases when people has genuinely made a mistake or maybe had an appointment and got maybe stuck and 5 minutes late. You know what I mean? And I'm not pointing the finger here at traffic wardens either, because, they're trying to do their job. They're trying to do their level best. But what I have stated clearly is I think there should be a wee bit more of a common sense approach here. You take the likes of Pat there, there's different businesses in the main street have been in touch with me as well, where they're getting parking tickets. Now, these businesses have their own vehicle with their own brand stickered on them. And for me, for to be a couple of minutes over, it's very simple that a conversation could be had where traffic warden goes on and knocks on the door to the business and says, listen, you're running over time. Are you going to be much longer here? Or because I'm going to be left with no option but to put a ticket in your van. Then the business an opportunity to come out and move the vehicle or have a conversation.
If someone's using the same argument in a disabled parking bay?
Listen, Greg, that needs to be enforced big time.
You see, we're all equal, though. Yes, but we're all equal. We're all
100%. And that's, Greg, that's where it comes back now to what's very important is the traffic bylaws, the public consultation. And it's very important for the businesses and for the people of Letterkenny to come in and express their views.
Okay, I want to come back to you on that. We don't have a date for that. I want to come back, but I want to say to Pat, I wanted to pull in outside the kitchen restaurant, and I'm giving you as many free plugs here as I can. I wanted to put into the kitchen restaurant, but there was a group of builders in there getting their third pot topped up with water, and I couldn't come in with my family and leave 70 quid behind me. Do you get me?
Absolutely appreciate what you said. Now, it's just to go back on the builders, to be fair to the builders, and why I actually, they on a Friday morning have a half an hour usually of a window.
I know, I love the builders. I'm being a bit facetious, Pat.
They're the bad guys to be picking out. No. But no, look, I absolutely, and to be fair to the traffic wardens, I see them on the street day in, day out. They do their job, and you're right. People argue the toss with them. I've argued the toss with them myself in different parking space, and I do have somebody to have a job to do, and they're 100% right. I don't blame the traffic warden for what the situation that we're in, that we can't stop outside the business to unload or load at any stage after paying parking on the main street. But as you say, it's a catch-22. I don't want people parking all day on the main street either. Literally leaving the car there and not being able to pay. So there is, as Donald said, there's obviously a discussion to be had in the council as to how you address that. I suppose the other issue
I'm
is
going to put it to you, Pat,
own...
then, just in relation to this half hour. Here's your choices.
Yeah.
Half hour strictly, everyone knows the crack, or, the Wild West of parking in Letterkenny. There's your choices, because we're asking parking wardens to have individual discretion for hundreds of cars up and down the main street. Now, let's not forget, the only way they know a car's there for half an hour is they have to tag the number plate once, and then half an hour later they have to tag it again. So they're not tagging that number plate as soon as that car's pulled in. They're going to be scanning that probably 5, 10, 15 minutes later. Do you understand? So we have to be fair when we put up our posts. And we have to be fair. At what point? The half an hour is not starting as soon as someone pulls into that space, because that number plate has to be scanned, and then a half an hour has to pass, right?
Yeah, understood. Yeah. No, look, I totally. I'm not. As I said, that's not the argument on the half hour. And if I got the ticket, if I was parked on the bottom of the street and the ticket in the van, and I got the half hour, like yourself, I'd be annoyed with myself. I'd be annoyed to getting the ticket. But the fact that the van was right outside the cafe, they knew we were working there. And as Donald pointed out, that you could say, there's a van, that's the business just there. How big a job is it to walk in and say, like, we do unload in the taxi rank, the lads move out of our way to let us unload through the door there, and we move on as quick as we can. We do it because that's the only way we can operate.
I think you hit the nail on the head here. The discretion could be, it's an ecosystem. Work with the local businesses, obviously, and that limits it to a very few number of vehicles and not sort of the
absolutely. I wouldn't expect the traffic warden to be picking out every car, doing with every person, and totally agree with that.
Let's bring Donald back in on this 2 hours per day parking. Donald, that seems a bit counterintuitive, isn't it? Because I'd be in and out of towns and villages. But Pat says, if I parked 2 hours in the morning and then legitimately bought a ticket for the afternoon, that I could get effectively done for illegal parking. Is that your understanding of the case? And that's crazy.
Greg, believe it or not, that is news to me as well. And I mean, this is where we need to be very clear on the parking laws. And the people, like, when you hear businesses there that come out to that likes a Pat, I mean, 90%, maybe 95% of the general public aren't aware of that. And these are the things that I have expressed numerous times in workshops to try to make very clear. Because, Greg, there's one thing that I feel should be with the people coming in and out of Letterkenny, the traffic wardens and the businesses, and there should be a relationship. I feel our wardens, they could play be more role models, if you like, to come out, have a conversation with people, welcome to the town, have a conversation at the doors with businesses, and a wee bit more of a common sense approach. Now that works both ways. You also have people that are coming in and they're chancing their hand, and jumping out of their car and running in, and I mean, there's genuine case where people maybe get stopped in conversation.
Well, let me ask you, Donald, honestly, which do you think happens more? Do you think more motorists come in and chance their arm, Or do you think more motorists come in and get caught out because they made a mistake? I would suggest it's probably 80% chance on the arm, 20% making the mistake. And I think, to be honest with you, that these guys and girls have a tough old job. And I think there is an argument to work with Pat as a business owner and look at it logically, saying he's unloading. But when we start asking them to sort of then start allowing on top of half an hour free parking, it's unfair. And when we put that out there into the ecosystem of conversation, it could lead them just to getting even more abuse. Honestly, that's my honest view.
Yeah, and listen, that's where we go back to again, Greg. There needs to be more of a common sense approach. You know, have the conversation. You're correct. There's people come on and chance their arm, surely. And listen, I'm no angel myself. If I was in a rush myself, I would park and jump out and run on and try to get back again.
Get the app. It's very handy.
We're all human, Greg. But listen, at the end of the day, all that you would like to see, particularly in Letterkenny, is a welcome approach from everyone. You know, have more of a relationship, not a divide. That's something you don't want to see going on. But common sense approach. Go on to businesses. Like, there's numerous businesses there that are getting ticketed. I mean, a knock on the door, Martin, how are you? Or Mary, how are you? Are you going to be much longer to load the van? You know, simple things like that.
Is there not loading times early in the day and evening, Pat?
Well, there's loading bay, but the nearest loading bay to us is up the top of the market, above the market square. So it's not even.
It's not on the cost.
It used to be a loading bay where I was there. That used to be a loading bay, but at some stage the council changed that back to an ordinary parking space like 5 or 6 years ago.
All right.
So it was up to 10 o'clock that you could load in it. So
Donald, will you double check this returning to park thing for us as well too? Because I know it's in the private car parks, but just double, if you don't mind. I don't want to give you a job. Listen, thanks so much for joining us, Donald. That's Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly. Pat Brady, me and you we're not 100 miles apart in our views either.
Appreciate that.
And how is business? Because the schools and everything's starting up next week, Pat. Are you concerned that people might be discouraged? Where are you at in that whole conversation, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, we're look, being honest, we're happy. We have a fairly regular customer on the main street. Yeah. And you know, it's a good business. We're here 20 years, and it's just that we obviously like it, and that's what we want to continue. And we don't want to see things happening that are going to drive people away from us and from the main street. We like it as the same. My wife is here all the time. She bakes away. I come and go to the place, but it's a good. I'd be honest with you, it's a good place to operate. So look, we're not complaining about that.
I would love you to put the wife on to see what she thinks of this parking conversation.
It's the last thing in the world. She's standing behind encouraging me to go on and say nothing, as you would expect. So,
all right, okay.
She definitely won't take the phone.
Listen,
appreciate it.
I'm on a mess. It'll do you no harm. It's a good conversation to have. Look after yourself. Pat Brady there, owner of the Kitchen Restaurant Letterkenny. Before the break, I want to bring in James. James, sorry for holding you there. You're a delivery driver, so you would have some sort of insight, or a good insight, into this situation. What's it like for you doing your job?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead, James.
I just want to take it on from what Pat said there, and Pat said there's a loading bay up at the Market Square. That loading bay now has more or less been done away with the refurbishing of the Market Square.
Mm-hmm.
But as a delivery person, I deliver into a lot of towns, and Letterkenny is the only town that the loading bay stops at 10:30 or 12 o'clock.
Right.
You can't deliver after that, and some of the premises we deliver to don't open to that time.
Pubs, I presume,
and
that type
the
of
loading
stuff.
Bay,
yeah,
and the loading bays aren't sufficient enough amount of loading bays in the town. Now, I have to say the traffic wardens up to 10:30 they keep the loading bays free for the hours.
Yeah.
But once 10:30 comes, it's a free for all then. No where you get parked and one thing or another. There isn't enough loading bays, as Pat said. That one across from his cafe was a loading bay. For some strange reason, all of a sudden, it was done away with as a loading bay.
What do you do in that situation? Well, like, because it's a narrow street, right? You've nowhere to park. Some of these, if it's kegs or something, there's a ton of weight in it. What do you do? How do you fulfill the delivery, James?
You might have to circle the town maybe 2 or 3 times and put your partner out to maybe try and keep a space for you when you come around. Yeah. That's like, I deliver into a lot of towns, like Sligo and different towns, and there isn't a problem with loading bays. There's sufficient loading bays, and they're loading bays all day. So it's not an issue. It just seems to be whatever Letterkenny means in the law. Now the traffic wardens is 100%. Like we never would have no bother with the traffic wardens in Letterkenny. They're all very nice there. It's just that there isn't enough loading bays. I haven't thought it out. Some of the loading bays is actually small loading bays. They'll cover a van.
That's right.
They won't cover an
I
large
was going to
lorry.
say that to you. Yeah, I was going to say some of those loading bays are pretty tight. If you've got a big yoke, okay. So Letterkenny would be James Letterkenny would be an outlier then. So this is almost unique to Letterkenny, if not completely unique to it. Then.
All right. Well, towns that have been in and all, it seems to be that Letterkenny, the loading bays. I think it's 10:30. Some of them loading bays stops in the town. If not, it's 12 o'clock. But if I'm nearly sure it's 10:30, and like we deliver to publicans, and a pub doesn't open to 10 o'clock. It's not legally allowed to open to 10 o'clock. If someone won't come earlier, and that's just the way they are.
Yeah.
You know, it's just as Pat said. There's one up at the Market Square, but that's done away with now because that's where they're storing stuff for the doing up the Market Square and stuff. So and if I was to park in a taxi rank or something like that, which some of the taxi ranks is empty during that day, if they could do them, I think if it's empty, you can use it. But if a traffic warden comes along and you're in a you're done.
Interesting.
In a taxi rank.
Listen, James, thanks for that insight. That's, I never thought about that, but you'd be going, oh no, we're going to Letterkenny now. Will we get parked or not?
Well, that's sometimes you have to drive around the town maybe 2 or 3 times to get parked in.
Wow.
And like it's not just one lorry. In the morning, there could be numerous of lorry men looking to get into a space, so it's a free for all.
All right. Thanks, James. Look after yourself.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, powering your plans with fast digital loans. Apply online or through our app in minutes and get funds straight into your current account. Easy, quick and convenient. And our digital offering perfectly complements the friendly face-to-face service you know and trust.
Transform your living room with a luxurious, bespoke feature wall from Spratt Fireplaces, Newmills, Letterkenny. Our complete installations include built-in storage, electric fires, floating shelves and stunning finishes in stone, porcelain or marble. Each feature wall is designed and built in-house by our expert carpentry and stone masonry teams. No fuss, just flawless feature walls. Call 074 91 24144 or visit spratfireplaces.ie. Spratt Fireplaces, experts in heating, design and detail.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens, and suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates, Solicitors, Stranola.
You parked perfectly first try. One smooth, flawless movement. And now you're sitting there for a second, just enjoying the moment, like you won something. That's human. At An Post Insurance, we believe in being a little more human about car insurance. We know how important it is to stay protected on the road. Head to onpostinsurance.ie today for your car insurance quote. We're human about insurance. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as An Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post.
It's the Donegal Creamery's Milk €500 cash splash. We're giving away €500 in cash every week. Scan the QR code on promotional packs of Donegal Creamery's Milk and you could be making a splash with €500 cash. Pick up special packs of Donegal Creamery's Milk in store to find out more. Terms and conditions apply. The €500 cash splash with Donegal Creamery's Milk.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, offering flexible mortgages up to €600,000 with no hidden fees or charges. Whether you're buying your dream home or thinking of switching your mortgage, make the move to your local, trusted credit union. Learn more at letterkennycu.ie.
Looking for a GP? Family healthcare made easy. Sunnis Medical is a new GP practice now open in New Duns Retail Park opposite Smith's Toys and beside Brennan's Pharmacy. With ground floor access and over 600 free parking spaces, visiting us is easy. We're now welcoming new patients, medical card and private. Call 074 921 0810 or register online at sunnismedicalfp.ie. Sunnis Medical, your new local GP practice in Letterkenny.
Take a step for someone you love. Join Alzheimer's Memory Walk,
supported by Aviva, on Sunday, September 20th, and help support people living with dementia across Ireland. Register today and find your local walk at memorywalk.ie.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, iPath MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
Need tiles? Crawford Tiles. Need bathware? Crawford Tiles. Need wood flooring? Crawford Tiles. Need a 5-day bathroom fit out? Crawford Tiles.
Who did you say again?
Crawford Tiles, of course. They don't just make spaces look good, they make them go wow. Call Crawford Tiles on 91-43942.
We've got €2,000 to give away on the home stretch.
And it could be coming your way this Friday.
On Friday the 28th of August, we'll be giving away €2,000 on the home stretch.
As part of the Highland Radio Summer Cash Draw.
So make sure you're in the draw.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Get back to school sorted with our collection of school uniforms, shoes and accessories. Visit our kids department in store or discover our back to school shop online at mcelhenneys.com.
Now let's have a look at that weather forecast. And I can tell you that any mist and fog, it's gone at this stage to leave a dry day with sunny spells. Might be hazy a little later on. Temperatures around 19 to 21 degrees. Winds light. Now, I'm joined on the programme by Donegal fiddler Martin McGinley. Martin, thank you so much for joining us today. Unfortunately, it's to mourn the very tragic and sad passing of Ethna Vallely. Rich, tell us a little bit about. I'll tell our listeners, in fact, Ethna is from Donegal, but she died following a road traffic collision on the Portadown Road in Armagh Friday morning. And this is a lady that is synonymous with music in this county.
Yeah. Well, Ethna, it was a big shock to hear the news that she'd been knocked down on Friday morning. I think around 8:30 was pronounced dead at the scene. She's been a major figure, herself and her husband, Brian, major figure in traditional Irish music. They basically were the driving force behind the Armagh Pipers Club. She's been living in Armagh with Brian, just in the centre of Armagh there for since around 1969. So she's been gone a long time, but they've made a massive impact because they organise the Armagh Pipers Club, the teaching, 200 to 250 young people and adults every year, 30 tutors. So you can imagine the number of people that have gone through their hands since 1969. You're talking literally thousands of people. And if you look at the tributes on Facebook, I mean, they're astounding. The impact they've made. People saying, that they set me on my journey. Music is so important to me. And some of these people are professional musicians, are really well known. 3 of their own children then are professional musicians. Niall down in Cork, who's just recently been announced as Composer of the Year, the T.G. Cahir Awards for traditional music. They're the sort of premium awards. He's Composer of the Year for 2026. That ceremony's next month. Killian plays with Lunas. He's based in the States. He's recorded for various people. And I just saw that he's on a recording by Bruce Springsteen. Wow. He plays the Indian pipes, like his father, Brian. And then Kevin, who I think I taught in the Donegal. He used to come up to the Donegal Fiddles Week in Glencolmkill. He's down in Cork as well, and he's a noted fiddler and piano player. So not alone did Ethna make an impact as a teacher. She was a teacher in her full-time job and then also teaching in the evenings for the Armagh Pipers Club, organising the whole thing with Brian. Thousands of people. They won so many awards over the years, and they produced publications, they organised concerts, they organised seminars, books. They're one of the best known families in traditional music.
It's astonishing, isn't it? And Ethna's influence, not just on the generation before now or before then, and future generations, it's unmeasurable, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
if you think about it, the ripples from her and her family, you could never really. I mean, you've paid a wonderful tribute. Don't get me wrong, but you could never track all the influences and the differences.
No, because if you look online there's so many people have put up Facebook posts about Ethna. The Armagh Pipers Club being, of course, one of them, and there are 350 odd comments there. Really heartfelt comments about Ethna and the difference she made in people's lives. So I suppose for us in Donegal, we can think of her as someone who was born, who grew up in Lifford, to a well-known family, because Harry Carey, her father, was the secretary of the Donegal Committee of Agriculture, which was a big thing at the time. For 45 years, he was secretary of the county board of the GAA, played the fiddle. He was president of the Ulster Council for 3 years in the 60s. He was a big fan. Irish was important to him. So I think Ethna actually grew up in Lifford speaking Irish, which was very unusual. She went to a secondary school, an all-Irish secondary school in Fulcara, that big house outside Fulcara. And I think she must have been one of the last group of students there, because it closed around 1959. She was born in 45. Then she went down to Monaghan. So she grew up, she went to Murlog School, which is just outside Lifford there, and she was taught her first music by Paul Brady's father, Sean Brady, in that school. So there's probably still people in Lifford that remember, and they certainly remember the family. Like Harry was a founder of the local GA club.
Yeah.
He was involved in the Red Cross, he was involved in Irish, he was involved in the credit union, right across the board, very well known, and they used to have sessions there. She was very, I spoke to her because I did work on the East Donegal Fiddlers, and she was able to talk about sessions in their house in Lifford.
Brilliant.
Eddie McIntyre, the county librarian.
And were you archiving that, were you?
Yeah, it's up on the Donegal Fiddle website.
Fantastic. That's so important.
It is, because not too many people can remember the likes of Eddie McIntyre, one of the We all know the McIntyres here in Letterkenny. Jeananne would be the same connection. He was the librarian. He played in their house in sessions, and Jimmy Houston originally from Castlefin, lived in Drumkeen. Frank Kelly, a very noted Donegal fiddle player, she remembered him. He died recently. So she was able to give us information that we hadn't known about.
Fantastic for you to archive that.
And a lovely woman as well.
And Martin, obviously teaching is teaching, and you'll see musicians from Rihanna to whoever it might be, and the person that made a difference in their life is often the music teacher, okay? So, obviously someone like Ethna, and this would go for you as well, in imparting the passion. You're showing people finger positioning, and you're showing people rhythm and whatever it might be, but what else is happening there that you are sort of instilling a passion beyond the physical playing of an instrument?
I think that's one thing that comes across, and it came across not just from talking to Ethna and Brian, her husband Brian, very well-known painter as well. I got a chance to know them a bit. They came up to Killybegs when I was involved with the CLN. They spent a couple of weekends there, so we got a chance to hang out, as they say. And the thing that people are saying about Ethna and Brian, the commitment was total, and that rubbed off on the people that they dealt with. They could see these people were living their interest in traditional music, and had a genuine interest in young people and adults. And there's a couple of documentaries. You can see at least one of them online. One was made there as Ceolún Clan, in 2022. It's on TG Carr. It's been on I think it's been repeated there. The Vallely family, and he's saying, which is very encouraging for people. He's saying that he thinks that anybody can learn to play an instrument. And when you've got that approach, nobody's really worried about whether they've got talent or anything. He's saying, listen, if you want to do it, just do it, and that's important.
Am I too old to learn the guitar?
Not at all, no. The secret is practice. If you want to do something,
am I too old to practice?
Well, you see, that's what I find with adults. They're giving out to their kids all the time, but you're not practicing. And then if they take classes themselves, they're saying, well, it was, I've got work and I have to look after the kids.
You've got excuses.
Yes.
Martin, listen, thanks for calling in and paying tribute to a clearly wonderful lady with a huge influence. And it's an awful tragic way to die, because we don't know for how long she would have lived, of course. But if there's any comfort, it's the legacy, it's the impact, it's the, we would all love to feel that we could have our memories live on in the way hers will. So hopefully, and I'm sure her family will draw some comfort from that, even given the tragic circumstances of her death.
Well, I'm just heading up there now to the wake, and I know I'll be hearing from people at the wake just about the enormous contribution and the difference she made in people's lives.
Okay, well, pass on our condolences as well. Thank you so much, and safe onward journey. That is a legend himself, of course, Martin McGinley, a Donegal fiddler, paying tribute to Ethna Vallely, 81 years of age, originally from Donegal. Her family with very strong ties, but very sadly died following that road traffic collision on the Portadown Road in Armagh on Friday morning last.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. New to borrowing or haven't borrowed in a while? Our welcome loan is here for you. Borrow up to €50,000 at just 5.95% APR with no hidden fees ever. Apply online or in branch today at letterkennycu.ie.
McDade Bro CVRT Test Centre Lurgy Brack Letterkenny is open 6 days a week, including Saturdays. From small vans to large trucks and buses, McDade Bros have all your CVRT testing needs covered. They also install and calibrate tachographs. Keep your vehicle safe, compliant and roadworthy. Book today by calling 074 9121 005 or online at mcdadebros.ie. McDade Bro CVRT Test Centre, proudly serving Donegal since 1972.
Make 2026 the year you reduce your energy bills for good, and Efficient Renewables will guide you through the entire process, from SEAI grant applications to installation. And with our new Efficient Care Plus aftercare service, we're with you every step of the way. With new finance options now available, the upfront cost of switching to solar or upgrading your heating system no longer has to hold you back. Call 074 9708 320 or drop into our showroom in Newton Cunningham and see how much you can save. There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House, Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,500 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot tonight at 8:30.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Curran. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
The Highland Radio Customer Service Awards in association with AirGrid are back. We're honouring the businesses that put customers first, and we want to hear from you. Whether it's your favourite shop, restaurant or service provider, now's the time to give them the recognition they deserve. Nominate your favourite business now at highlandradio.com. Nominations close Friday the 20th of August. The awards night takes place on Sunday the 27th of September.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Donegal Domestic Violence Services are appealing to anyone living in fear or an abusive situation to reach out and take the first step towards getting support. The service says having just one conversation could be the beginning of a safer future. It says domestic abuse can be emotional, psychological, coercive, financial, sexual or physical, and stresses that whatever form it takes, it is not the victim's fault. Support is available confidentially, compassionately and without judgment, they say. Donegal Domestic Violence Services contact details, including their free 24-hour line, is available on our website, highlandradio.com. A business owner on Letterkenny's Main Street claims it's becoming impossible to do business there because of parking restrictions. Pat Brady says on Friday the company's van was ticketed while they were trying to get ready orders for the weekend. Speaking on today's Greg Hughes Show, he said after nearly 20 years of trading in this spot, it seems those in power want to make sure there is nothing left but nighttime trade. Pat Brady says the current laws are overly restrictive.
If I come in the morning and I put a ticket on that van and I have to come back in the afternoon, I can't legally park anywhere near my premises on the main street. I actually have to take a chance on getting a ticket. I can't literally come back to my own premises at any stage after paying my 2 hour. You can't come back to anywhere on the main street after the 2 hours. You have a half an hour free and then you have your 2 hours to pay for. And obviously you could do it in the app, but you can't. If you go on the Donegal parking app and you see it, you're not allowed reapply for parking on the main street once you have your 2 hours done.
Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly says new draft parking bylaws will soon be going out to public consultation, and he's urging people, and in particular businesses on Main Street, to participate.
At our last workshop, where we were going through the parking bylaws, which will be going out to public consultation, no date set for it, but I would urge the public to attend the public consultation and express their views, and particularly the businesses in Letterkenny Main Street and surrounding areas.
Less than 1% of Ireland's trainee solicitors were based in Donegal last year. That's according to data published by the Law Society of Ireland. There were just 3 trainee solicitors in the county out of 581 across the country. That means Donegal accounted for just 0.5% of all trainee solicitors. There were 148 practising solicitors in the county. Little Angel School in Letterkenny has been shortlisted for Education Project of the Year at the ICI Awards 2026. The new building, designed by McGarry Nahaney Architects, recently won the RAAI Public Choice Award for the year. The project was delivered through close collaboration between the architects, Boyle Construction and school staff, with the building designed specifically around the needs of the children who attend. Features include widened corridors and other measures aimed at improving accessibility and movement throughout the school. Over half of under 35-year-olds believe they will never be in a position to buy a home. Research from PTSB shows 61% of that age group are considering social housing, and 55% are looking at long-term renting in order to secure somewhere to live. 1 in 4 renters who had previously not considered social housing are now open to it. Chief Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Officer at PTSB, Leontia Fannin, says the research shows a continued shift in attitude toward home ownership.
What it's pointing to is, particularly in that under 35 age group, that they are looking for alternatives other than the traditional buying a home because of some of the challenges in the market today. So social housing, the increase in that is just over 10% of people looking for social housing in that under 35 age group. And we are seeing a higher proportion of that age group also considering long-term renting.
There will be no new tax breaks for developers in the upcoming budget. Housing Minister James Brown told the Business Post the market is dysfunctional and can't survive without the current level of subsidies. He says the government is looking at how to transition away from those supports to try and get the private sector standing on its own 2 feet. Director of Housing and Planning at Construction Industry Federation, Conor O'Connell, says over the past decade, all housing systems haven't been working properly.
We've had a dysfunctional planning system, we've had a dysfunctional judicial review system and legal system, we've had a dysfunctional financing system for development finance with the banks, we've had a dysfunctional system for infrastructural investment. So all of those dysfunctions within the system has led to a dysfunction within the housing supply market.
Weather forecast: any mist and fog will clear quickly this morning, leaving a dry day with sunny spells. Hazy at times in top temperatures of 19 to 22 or 23 degrees Celsius. Light, occasionally moderate east or southeast winds. Tonight, dry with clear spells. Temperatures won't fall below 10 to 14 degrees Celsius in light, occasionally moderate easterly breezes. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Monday morning, August 24th. The death has taken place of Sammy Crummer-Summy, Portnew. His remains will be reposing at Shovlin's funeral home, Sandfield, Ardra, this evening from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and tomorrow from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. Followed by removal to St Connell's Church, Ireland, Portnew, travelling via Summy and Rossbeg to arrive at 8 o'clock. Funeral service on Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. The death has taken place of Frances Gallagher, niece Sweeney, of Lower Door, Bumbeg, formerly of Mean Corwick, Crawley. Her remains will repose at her home in Dore today from 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and tomorrow from 12 noon until 8 p.m, with Rosary nightly at 8 o'clock. House private after the Rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass will take place on Wednesday at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Minawil, with burial afterwards in Maharagalm Cemetery. The Funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page, and on the church webcam via MCM Media. The death has occurred of Joe Burns, College Park, Letterkenny. Funeral leaving from the home of his sister and brother-in-law, Linda and Brian McMenamin, 21, Sesha View Ballybuffet, today at 1:30, to the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar, for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock. Interment in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Family time before the funeral, please. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio. With Super Value's Real Rewards prices, you can now get weekly savings on thousands of products when you scan at the till, like fresh Irish stewing beef, €3. Cheese Strings Original and Twisted 8-pack, €2 each. Nestle Multigrain Cheerios 800 gram, €3. Plus Super Value Signature Taste Clement Gold Punnet, now €1.49. New Real Rewards prices from Super Value. Yes, you scan.
Lots of you messaging in the programme this morning. Very much appreciated, let me tell you. The parking issue, as you can imagine, has got people wanting to have their say. Businesses on Main Street pay high rates to the council, so it's too bad they couldn't have a parking space outside their businesses. Another, the square should be turned into a car park now. Would that be useful, I wonder? What do you think? It's obviously there's other big plans for that square. Hi, just comment about the parking app that Greg's talking about. It takes €1 off me every time you top up. Oh, right. I didn't notice that. Is that like an admin fee? Too many hills to walk up to the main street. Back years ago, the buses took people up to the market square to shop and eat. From other towns and Letterkenny's hinterland, the banks are all in the main street too. A lot of people can't get parking on Main Street Park in the courtyard, they say. Can you clarify if the free half hour on the main street still exists or not? There was always a free half hour. Now people are staying there. It's not. If not, when did this change? No, you'd still have the half hour. The conversation is that people want more latitude. So if you're there for 33 minutes or 35 minutes or 37 minutes, that you don't get a ticket. How that works, I really don't know. As a victim, as I could say, as a victim, as someone who's received parking tickets, I'm not happy about it. It's never not been my fault. Can you ask the councillor, is it discrimination that here in Ballybuffet we've no free parking? There's mixed views on that, and it's come up for public consultation and conversation, and I've spoken to businesses that are in favour of it and others that aren't. Is it discrimination? It's democracy. You've got local representatives there. If you want free parking half an hour, I would get on that with them. Just listening to your programme about parking, I have to say the parking is ridiculous. I recently was down the bottom of the main street and I literally pulled in. I was taking a phone call. I was only pulled in 2 minutes. When the parking man walked up, took a picture of my number plate, I got out and said, I'm just taking a phone call here. I'll only be 5 minutes. He said, you have half an hour. I was like, I won't be here half an hour. He then stood at the corner, literally watching me. Another case, I was walking back to my car, had a ticket on, etc., and he'd done me for no tax disc displayed. I said, I have a tax disc. Isn't out yet. I showed it to him on my phone. I taxed it, and he said it's too late in the system. I walked on. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, there's two things going on there. A, they have to log your number plate to keep track of parking. That's the reality, whether we like it or not. Two, it is an issue. You know, the system should be able to... Like, what is the rules? You are allowed grace with the non-display of a tax disc, aren't you? If you tax your car and you're waiting for it to be posted, you know, you're not driving illegally, or are you? That needs to be clarified, I think. It really does, because there's a lot of people changing cars, and it does take a while. And you do pay tax from when you took ownership of it. So a caller says, I agree with the ticketing. Many business owners and staff use these spaces. He just said 2 hours in the morning and 2 in the evening. How many customers are lost because of that? More here. A disabled person with a blue badge got a ticket in Letterkenny because their road tax disc was out of date, even though disabled people do not pay road tax on their cars. You see, it's not the person. There might be someone else driving that car, you see. I feel like I'm going to get in trouble here. I'm not being very popular, but it might not just be the disabled person driving that car either, might it? Another caller says, I think the 30-minute grace should be given from the initial time on the parking ticket. Buncrana has 30 minutes grace. Yes, indeed. It's hard to keep track because then Ballyshannon scrapped. You have to understand from my perspective, you know, it's not just all Letterkenny with me. I have to try. I know Ballyshannon scrapped their parking charges. Ballybuffet and Stranorlar, there's mixed views. Buncrana, they have their grace, but it's hard on the spur of the moment to keep track of everything. My apologies. Hi, Greg. It's the same problem in Ballybofey, especially on Navanny Street. There's no grace for elderly people who have to park up in the car, which is a steep hill and a walk to run in for their daily essentials. If I had to guess, I'd say it's driving business to the larger supermarkets instead. And I have a lot of parking. Messages, and I'm going to get to as many of them as I can. There's other stuff as well. Morning, Greg. National Community Games finals were held in Carlow at the weekend. Diva Diver from Ramelton got silver in the under-12s girls long jump. Milford under-12 boys soccer team got silver. Well done to all our competitors that travelled to Carlow and represented Donegal. Well done to you all. Thanks to all the parents and management. Fair play. That comes in from the Donegal PRO, Tony McCarry. Great bit of success down there. The DL debate is on tonight from 7 p.m, just after the news at 7, but tune in from 7. I like you to listen to the news. And there's a lot coming up, of course. Brendan Devaney's its presenter. Hi, Brendan.
Yes, Craig. How's things, boy?
I am good. And, you know, we've 3 rounds of games done in the senior championship. Glen Swilly, top of the pile. Interesting, there are a number of mid-table undefeated teams as well, but it is starting to take a little bit of shape, and you'll be reflecting on that this evening, I'm sure.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's been some good starts. As you said, Glen Swilly, don't know, sides really, putting up the hand. They say they want to make an assault on this Dr. Maguire. So, yeah, listen, you've obviously got a few draws in there as well. St. Eunan's, Neve Connell, sides, they got Gidor, picked up draws. So, yeah, don't know, and Glen Swilly certainly looking good. Kilcara, of course, and Four Masters could join that group. They have a rearranged game to play yet. But yeah, a lot of interesting results in there. And as you mentioned, Glen Swilly, very, very late 2-pointer. McGill Vrija banging one over with the last kick of the game to equalise against Sean McCulls, who I was very impressed with this season as well. They're going well too. So yeah, a lot of teams in there looking like they can, at least, compete at the senior club level, and some interesting results.
Yeah, down the bottom of the table, a few teams yet to register any scores at all. We talked about the table starting to take shape. It's not too late though, is it? Or do you see any massive moves from down there?
Yeah, already. Listen, some of the teams got a feel of avoiding a relegation. Greg, certainly, your Neve Columbus and our draws. Even Tyrman have had a tough championship so far, particularly after the very good one they had last season. Downlands as well. So. Listen, yeah, a lot of teams in there, Greg, I've found it a bit tough. They've still played well in patches and games and that, but big game for Tyrman this week at home to Dunlow to see if they can turn their season around. That's a massive game, but of course Dunlow very much in form.
Indeed, and there's plenty of action in the lower leagues as well. Niamh Murrah coach and Radio Nagelta the commentator Oni McGarvey is on the programme to go through all of the ramifications in more detail. And another feature on the man in the middle, the woman in the middle, but mostly men, of course. I like this focus you do on the refs because it's an important part of the game, and I don't see another sort of sports show podcast that does return to this topic with a bit of frequency.
Yeah, do you know what, Greg? It's interesting that we don't engage with our refs more in terms of their perspective and how they see the game, and we don't hear enough from them, I don't think, because they have such a unique job in there, and they're so pivotal to it. And just with the new rules and how they're now completely bedded in, and what the refs' reaction did. And I think when you highlight how a ref sees it, Greg, I think it's very important, because if anybody out there, as I said to you before, if you take a club game, if you're in coaching your club and you do a in-house game, it's an absolute nightmare. And that's your own players, people shouting and roaring and people getting on you, and people have all different interpretations. So it's always interesting to see just how a ref evaluates situations, and particularly now with this wave of new rules. They're well set in now, but just I like to sometimes kind of humanise their perspective on it. I think it's important, Rick, because they play such a huge role in America. And Enda, we are blessed to have 2 very good refs, so we'll have them on too. We'll get a word from the Masters as well, Greg. I'll just make
into the finals.
Yeah. So listen, as the day goes on, we'll get somebody on the show.
Did you ever play in the Masters?
No, I didn't play. I had given up.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So that would have been counterintuitive, wasn't it? Your activity was cut a bit short there with the old hippie shakes.
I think a lot of the Masters, Greg, are people that are. We all have different builds, so a lot of them have just maybe very good genetics. So,
are you sure it's not because they saved themselves as?
much breakdancing from some of them boys, maybe.
Brilliant, okay. But it is hugely competitive and it's top quality football, like.
Listen, they were all out in Philadelphia with that thing. Remember, we were out, obviously, Jasper. So I kind of half knew quite a few of them, but it was great to get to know them better out there. You know what? I think there's such a more relaxed attitude towards the Masters now, not to get anything away from the competitive edge when they're playing, obviously, but they do seem to really enjoy the whole process, and they get together, and they're a great bunch of lads too, and back in the All-Ireland final. So it takes a huge effort. So well done to Eddie Crawford, of course, and the whole back team there as well for pulling that together.
All right, Owen McGarvey, Radio Nagelta, the commentator, Niamh Moore, coach, and refs Mark Dorian and Enda McFeely. A thankless task the refs have, let's be honest. So interesting to get their perspective on a much more complicated job than it might have been in the past with all the new rules. That's live from 7 o'clock this evening with Brendan Devaney. Brendan, thanks so much. Bye-bye. And, of course, you can listen to it as a podcast very shortly thereafter. It'll be up live for you, not far after 8, actually. The boys turn it around really, really quickly. Back to parking. It's too bad a businessman can't park at his premises with his name on the van. Something terribly wrong here, unless they want all businesses to close down. Can you ask the council why traffic wardens are checking window screens of parked cars to see if the car is insured or taxed? I'm not sure they have any. I'm not sure they have any influence on insurance. I'll have to double check that. But for a long time, traffic wardens. Well, I've been aware that traffic wardens are charged with the display of a valid tax disc. I wonder if you put the receipt from your road tax. You know how often you order online? I wonder if you put the receipt in the little box, would you get away with that? Greg, the traffic wardens always seem to stay near the same place. I've seen 2 different traffic wardens in the space of 2 hours at the car park at the back of the post office. Last one before the break. One place I never have seen a traffic warden is at Max Mace on the High Road. There's a footpath across the road from Max Mace at the corner where the Social Protection Office is. And on that road beside the footpath, there's a double yellow line blocking the footpath. Every single day there are cars parked up on the footpath, blocking the footpath, yet I've never seen a traffic warden there. From morning to evening, that footpath is blocked with cars sitting parked on the footpath. Are the traffic wardens in Letterkenny not allowed to walk up as far as the high road? Maybe they need scooters. I don't know what the crack is there.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 24th of August. You're playing on the green sheet for the daily prize of €400. The reference number is S11. It's game number 35. The numbers are 40, 23, 54, 39, 28, 46, 77, 30, 38, and finally 71. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The local name for insurance you can trust is Hickey, Clark and Langan. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price every time. Home, car or van, farm, commercial or public liability. Whatever you need, they're there to help. Drop into Ballymacool, Letterkenny or call 9126688. Hickey, Clark and Langan, saving you time, money and hassle. Hickey, Clark and Langan is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
What's your ice cream order? A 99 with extra sauce? A sundae piled high with your favourite toppings? Whatever your choice, Gatehouse Mace Ballymacool has the perfect treat for you. And while you're there, grab a Bewley's coffee, something tasty from the deli or hot food counter, or your everyday groceries. Gatehouse Mace Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Go on, treat yourself.
How do you fancy a pre-owned Hyundai Tucson from only €69 a week? Well, why not call into Divers Hyundai and check out their range of used Tucsons with finance available from only 4.99%. Zero deposit options are also available for a limited time. Offers are available on selected models only. Check out Divers Hyundai Letterkenny and you could be driving away in your Hyundai Tucson quicker than you think. Call 9122 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Example advertised is for a 2022 Tucson hire purchase agreement with €7,500 deposit. Balance for finance is €16,445. Total cost of credit is €2,156.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
Now we're joined on the programme by Les Cahirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District, Councillor Martin McDermott. Hi Martin, how are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. All's good.
Good to see you again. How's your summer been?
All good, yeah. Thank God. It's been great.
Right, so we're still working through the defective block scheme in terms of, I suppose it's updating, but also people actually engaging with it. And people don't know when the right time to pull the pin is it? Whether or not to go now, to wait for this, wait for that. And the reason we wanted to invite you on is because you're getting that too, because, you know, you've been speaking about this from the get-go. It's very difficult to give people advice on a life-changing part of their life, right? But so what is the dilemma? I suppose I'll let you frame the dilemma people are in at the moment, Martin.
Well, Greg, as you know, there was a change a couple of months ago to the IS 465. So that's something that's been going on for the last year to try to update, as we knew, and we've had this conversation many a time, that the standard was, you know, behind the scheme, that the standard wasn't... The standard was put together started in 2017 and was put out there in 2019. So a lot has changed during that period of time. A lot of new information has come on board since that. So that standard needed to be reviewed. It was reviewed, and a new standard, the National Standards Authority had issued a new standard. That new standard then had implications, I suppose, for the scheme as it stands. The scheme will have to be reviewed by the Minister in relation to the new standard. But I suppose the big question was what was going to happen in the meantime between that standard being reviewed, the new standard coming out, which it has, and the time it's going to take the Minister and the Department to look at that new standard and to bring the scheme that's there, the defective block scheme, the enhanced scheme, to bring that in line with the new standard. That will take some time. It's probably going to take 6 or 7 months at best to get that done. And I suppose there was a situation then, what happens to people that are waiting on their remediation options in the meantime? What happens to people that are, you know, looking for technical reviews? What does these applicants do in that meantime? I suppose there's been a number of conversations with the department on that to make sure that, you know, people weren't stopped from remediating their homes while this review is taking place. And you know, Greg, as well as me, sometimes reviews can say it'll take 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. It could end up taking 8, 10, 12 months. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. We have to be honest about that. That's what happens. So we didn't want people to be in a situation where they couldn't move forward if they wanted to move forward. So the Minister then announced and the Housing Agency announced that people could move forward, and people will be contacted. A number of people have been contacted to ask them, do they want to move forward now with the remediation options that they're being given, or do they want to wait until there's a new standard and the revised scheme? The Minister has made a decision on the new scheme and how that's
but what does
look.
that mean? I mean, obviously people have that choice without being offered it. Is there, if they begin now, could they benefit from any enhancements that might be introduced during the course of their build?
No, that's probably unlikely, Greg. What's been offered now is people to move on with the scheme as it stands, or wait till the review is done, which probably at that stage will include foundations. At the minute, the scheme doesn't include foundations, so you can't get paid for putting in new foundations with the scheme that's there at the minute. After the review's done and after the legislation is changed, that probably will be something that will be allowed at that point.
Now, do you anticipate that if foundations are included, you will be able to use the grants that is there on the foundations as well, or do you anticipate that the cap of the grant would have to increase to accommodate the foundations? Might be a stupid question, but I just don't know the answer.
No, I think that after the review's done, the scheme will have to allow, particularly if we're going to test foundations, the scheme has to be able to, if something is wrong and a foundation is found to be, deteriorating, the scheme will have to allow that person to claim that foundation as part of their scheme. So that, I think, will have to come in.
Do you think the money would increase, though, in line with that?
But the money, again, is down to the minister, but the cap would have to increase to include that, whether it's 5,000, 6,000, whatever that may be, that again, that will be another discussion that will have to be held with the department, with the Chartered Surveyors of Ireland, who put those costs together. And I suppose we're coming to a stage again where you're probably going to be looking at a review of those costs as well. So there's a number of things that's going to happen over the next number of months.
It's the truth being, and ultimately this comes down to individuals. You have to balance everything up. But unless you have money to burn, you have to wait, surely, because you will be getting more money and you'd be ensuring that your new house is not built on defective foundations. I mean, that's the only show in town, really, regrettably.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, that's why we need to be sure we have those options, that people have the option to wait, and then someone that doesn't want to wait, someone that is happy enough to move forward, go ahead and get their house remediated, that they also have that option to go ahead. So it was making sure that everyone has an option here, and I think that's what. To be fair, that's what has come out of this now. People do have the option, and you can move forward if you so wish, and if you're in a position to do that. And if you're not, you can wait then until the review is done.
What do we do into the future to ensure we're not doing this every single year? Because, the scheme was sold as not perfect, but it will be enhanced, it will be adapted, it will be improved, and will follow the science. But, what's next after, say, for instance, we do get foundations included? What's the next thing that do I wait for? Especially when the review date's a slippy date and we don't know precisely, when things might happen. We're always going to feel like we have this sense of jeopardy whether we move forward or not. Is there a way that can be, have you thought, that can be addressed?
Well, there's no easy way for that, but I do think, Greg, to be fair, I suppose the foundations was one of the main topics that we would have had over the last number of years.
It's a big part of this, isn't it?
If it's included, why it's not included, should it be included? I suppose, that has now been taken into consideration, and that was probably one of the big ones. And I mean, if you look at the new standard now, it's pretty clear that a lot of the houses will be demolished under that new standard. That there will not be, remediation options the way remediation options were being given out in the old IS 465. So there's quite a significant change here coming in relation to the scheme, and I do think that bringing the foundations and testing them and making sure that they're fine and that they're okay takes a big element of that away. That we've been discussing over particularly the last 3 or 4 years.
The BCMS update, what's that about?
So up to now, when you're doing your final payment, you had to include in your portal ancillary certification, so building control certification for all the elements of your rebuild. That only now has to be done between you and your building professional. That doesn't have to be uploaded onto the portal. The department have come back to say that that's not part of the scheme. But I would stress that is still a very important part for somebody building a house, to make sure that between them and their building professional, that the house is built to a standard, that their ancillary certification for mechanical, electrical, for insulation, for windows, doors, all that stuff, that when you're building this house, when you're redoing it, to make sure that is all in place, that everything is done to the standard that is meant to be done.
Right. So just to recap then, where we're at now, obviously people might feel they're in limbo. Do they wait the potential 6 months but in the knowledge it could be longer, that the scheme will include foundations and might indeed have greater caps. Who's to say? The situation is now that people have a no-fault decision to make. In other words, they can progress now if it works for them, but they can also wait for that review without penalty. That's really the significant development.
Yeah.
Lastly, and this is not to try and put you in a corner. And no, it's not like that. And it might sound but Paul Canning was on Councillor Paul Canning, a party colleague of yours, right? And opinions, you can have a different opinion to him. It doesn't matter. He was of the view that the scheme, that you can rebuild your property, generally speaking, with the money that's available, but the people are finding themselves with overruns because of upgrades to the property, maybe increased insulation, different windows, different doors, underfloor heat, whatever it might be, and that Paul Canning was of the view, it's a view, it's not controversial, he was of the view that if you just rebuilt your house as was without the bells and whistles, you can get it in under the cap, and he's an architect. I'm just wondering, is that how you would see it? Do you think that's... And I genuinely am not trying to pitch you against that councillor, don't get me wrong, but I do respect your experience with this scheme. Do you think a lot of the overrun is, upgrades, extras?
Yeah, well, I think that someone that's going to rebuild their house today, that built a house 25 years ago, would certainly want to build it to a standard
modern spec
that is a better spec. I mean, absolutely. I think it wouldn't make any sense to build a house, to a standard that I built my house to, for instance, 25 years ago. I think you do have to bring it to the day standard. I think that, the costs, and I speak to people every day of the week. I think costs are getting out of control, Greg. I think, there is too much of a variance between costs that some people are getting and costs that other people are getting. I think, I've had situations where people have, for instance, a 2,100 square foot house, we're getting costs for the same house £100,000 dearer than what it is. There's something radically wrong there. If the exact same house is, if one contractor is 100,000 dearer than another contractor, there's something really wrong there. There are people that are able to, build their house, do the work for in and around what the scheme has been done for, and that's people that sometimes people are able to do work themselves, sometimes people have family that are able to do work for them. There's a number of different anomalies out there that make the scheme work, and then there's other people that just don't have that ability and are running over quite substantially when it comes to the rebuild. And the SEI grant is also there to help with the upgrading, for instance, upgrading energy, upgrading insulation, upgrading heating system and all that. So look, there's that many anomalies out there, Greg. I think it's very, very difficult to pinpoint one versus the other. Yes. But there are people able to do it and there are people that's not able to do it. And I think that's for something that we have to work on, through our own committee and defective concrete.
It's not one size fits all. I get where you're coming from.
And I think with the department as well, we have to try and get some way that we have, a level playing field, that everyone is getting their house done as close to the scheme as communally possible.
We get a lot of communications here. Finally, Martin, I'll let you go then. They're hard to check up because but every now and again we'll get notification of a house that's being sold by an estate agent or in the county that someone claims to know that it's got defective concrete blocks, but it's not in the listing per se. But as I say, I can't really track that because it gets little comments from different places and all that type of stuff. Is there any work looking at that, or is it a known issue, or is it just someone who thinks that they know something and presume that to be the case? Is there something going on there that needs looking at all?
You mean for buying houses, Greg? For someone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is something that look, the AS465 new standard didn't take that under consideration for commissioning of selling of houses. In my opinion, they're banks making decisions on people's mortgage with absolutely no backing whatsoever. This thing of a bank telling me when I'm looking for a mortgage that if my house is 5% mica that I can't get a mortgage.
We know
there's
that's not the case
absolutely
now,
no
yeah.
scientific background to that whatsoever. And I mean, I think it's really wrong of banks and people to be telling families and young couples that are trying to buy a house that the house is not, you shouldn't be buying it because it is 5% mica. There could be a number that might have no implication on the buying of that house whatsoever. And there's other people that have, you know, small amounts of mica or defective or deleterious materials. And I mean, look, the new standard is clearly putting the mica situation to bed, as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's not. The banks are using a word and using something that they should never be using and shouldn't be using because it's deleterious materials. There's a number of different.
But the information should have reached them by this stage.
No,
it's crazy.
it should.
But there is one other thing too. I think.
But to be fair, Greg, can I just make a point on that?
Yes, of course you can.
There is a group, you know, the Banking Federation group, who we would have met a number of times through our defective concrete, and I'd have met them myself on a number of occasions, are doing fantastic work behind the scenes in that to try to get all those, you know, the banks, the estate agents, everybody in the one room, the department, who are maybe not playing ball the way they should play ball with them, and that's to get them all in the one room, that everyone's working off the same guidelines. And until that happens, there's always going to be ambiguity between what one person says and what another person says.
And also too, like, even if someone spots a house for sale in Letterkenny that they believe has defective concrete blocks and it's not displayed, let's just say hypothetically that happened, there's not a person, I don't think, should be buying a house, particularly of a certain vintage in this county, without doing their own testing. If you're going to be pumping 253, 354 into it, so regardless of what the listing says, your own test should determine that one way or other.
And Greg, I have had people coming to me that have bought houses that were, you know, that were told absolutely this house was built way before that, and now are finding themselves in a situation where they've bought a house after the date that allows them to get on the scheme, but now is finding out that there's actually that house is defective, and that's a very serious position for somebody to be put into.
What a nightmare, because there's literally no, and it is, I mean, the information's out there. It's a tough one. All right, Councillor Martin McDermott, Gurmai Hagod, Laska Hirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District there.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, powering your plans with fast digital loans. Apply online or through our app in minutes and get funds straight into your current account. Easy, quick and convenient. And our digital offering perfectly complements the friendly face-to-face service you know and trust.
Step into the future of dentistry at Blue Poppy Dentistry, Implants and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Doctors Anna and Ehor use digital smile design to show you exactly how your new smile could look. From precision airflow cleans to custom veneers and composite bonding, experience dentistry that's truly advanced. Book now on 074 91 20355 or online at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dentistry, Implants and Orthodontics, where your dream smile becomes reality.
At Specsavers, our 2-for-1 glasses offer gives you amazing value and choice. Buy one pair for seeing everyday things like kettles, sausages, dishwashers and hats, etc. And you can also get a pair of sunglasses for seeing things like the beach. Oh, sorry, must have dropped off there. Right, here we go. Buy one pair of everyday glasses at a lower €95 and get some prescription sunglasses for your second pair with standard single vision lenses to the same prescription. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details. Fair play.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books perfect to mark any occasion. Also, there's jigsaws, calendars, mugs and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Redcastle Hotel and Spa would like to invite you to their wedding fair on Sunday 6th of September from 1 to 4 p.m. View their stunning waterfront venue, meet the wedding team, top industry suppliers with breathtaking views, refreshments and more. Avail of great incentives for bookings made on the day. Please visit redcastlehotel.com for more information.
At 1 Crawford Square Dairy, our experienced clinicians provide private medical services for men and women, including blood testing, ultrasound, menopause care, dermatology and gynecology, with patient-centred care at the heart of everything we do. Find out more and book online at onecrawfordsquare.com.
Welcome back to the programme. I have in studio with me now James Devaney, Supervisor with Community Employment Project Drugs Rehabilitation with the CE Scheme. Good morning to you. Thanks for calling in.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
It's good to have you with us. Now, we're speaking ahead of International Overdose Awareness Day. And that is annual, and it's not unique to Ireland, is it? This is an international
yes,
day,
it's international, and actually this year's the 25th anniversary of International Overdose Awareness Day.
And who is it for?
It's for everybody in the community. It's to raise awareness and to break down the stigma around a topic like awareness, around the topics like drugs. It's mainly geared at peer-to-peer support, but also family members, people working in services. Anybody can come along for the time it's on from 10:30 until 12:30. There'll be a coffee morning there where people can have conversation, people can connect with one another. People can also remember anybody that they know that has passed on from an overdose. Like the last figures that showed in Ireland, I think it was 2022, showed that Ireland had 343 drug overdose deaths.
Do you think we missed some of them too?
Some of them were, and this is what the overdose day is about. One of the main things that we would respond in Letterkenny CDP, we have 2 staff trained up, myself and my colleague Curran where we provide training to peers who would be in close contact or close proximity with people who are using opioids, that they're trained up on how to administer a drug called naloxone that reverses the effect of an overdose. Lives can be saved with that drug.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that, because what we also have to talk about is the misconception of, an overdose, who might have an overdose. Maybe people are of the view that if we're talking about overdoses, it's someone who accidentally injects too much heroin into themselves, or does it purposely or not. I don't know what the percentage breakdown is, but there's a lot of prescribed medicine overdoses out there as well. So there's lots of variables, right?
Yeah. Well, in those figures of the 343, 2/3 of those people had opioids in their system. People hear of overdose and they automatically think somebody down a lane in Dublin somewhere with a needle in their arm injecting heroin. But the opioid overdose can be coming from pain medication that somebody's on. Like an example of opioids would be, you have your codeine, you have fentanyl, you have methadone, you have heroin, you have tramadol. You also have morphine, but you also have the synthetic opioids as well, same way as you would have synthetic cannabis products. There is products out there that's bought over the internet or bought through the street to mimic the same effect as opioids. So if somebody has an overdose with those as well, the naloxone can reverse the effects of that.
From your experience, for survivors, people who have lost someone to an overdose, are they do they fall between the cracks in terms of, it's not a natural death, it's not an accident, or it could be an accident, it could be an accidental overdose, or it could be induced, or they don't know why it might have happened? What do you find, amongst people? And this is why it's, I think, fantastic. There's an opportunity for people affected by this to come together and talk about it. But is there something unique in the loss or the grief for these people that are left behind? And what is that? I'm struggling to form a question on it, let alone understand it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tenets to it, Craig. You could have somebody maybe that has been in recovery for an amount of for a period of time, and through some issue they have relapsed. When they take an amount of opioid, then their tolerance has gone down, and what they were able to use before, maybe, that falls into the category of overdose. Take somebody maybe that's using heroin. When a new batch of heroin comes in and there's a different strength, there's an awful lot of variables in it, Greg, that it's very hard to pinpoint it down to one issue.
I'm going to chuck into this. This is why we were having the conversation about blister packs as well, because blister packs can be quite important for people who are taking drugs like opioids. If there is additional issues, maybe some memory issue, whatever, or what, it can be. You can very easily find yourself overdosing to a point where you could be incapacitated and unable to call for help. And I think that's why that whole blister pack conversation was quite important as well.
Like we're looking at drugs like tramadol here. We're looking at some of the most widely used drugs on the market.
Yeah.
But if somebody maybe forgets that they had them, if somebody maybe has used more, if somebody maybe, and you used it, that phrase earlier on, some people, the overdose, it could be intentional as well.
Yeah.
It could be intentional. There's, it's hard. It's very. It's
part of the
impossible to
grieving
pinpoint
process could be trying to work that through.
Yes,
and maybe this is a good space for that.
Yeah. It's helping people kind of come together, that they can talk about it, that they have a place where they're understood, that they're no longer alone with that there is people there that have been through similar. That sometimes the more questions you answer, the less answers you get.
Yes, and
but
again,
to have that peer-to-peer support is so important.
You could have someone who was diagnosed, became a little bit frailer, maybe they're taking drugs during the day, opioid drugs or whatever it might be for a condition, and then maybe at night they decide to take 2 sleeping tablets or whatever it might be, right? That's one scenario. So you might walk in on them, or it could be a different scenario. Is there a way to recognize that someone might be still alive but suffering or in the process of an overdose or overdosing in that moment?
There is.
You talked about education.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of next week's event is about too, Greg. That there is signs, there is symptoms there. You could be walking about the sessions at the weekend. There's somebody maybe slumped against a wall. Is it because of too much alcohol, or is this somebody that has gone into an overdose? And normally you'll see a person, they're unresponsive, their breathing is shallow, or maybe they're not breathing at all. Their pupils, they're very, very pinpointed pupils. Their skin can be very, very pale, and it's a different sound of snoring. It's almost like a snoring from deep within the throat. And their lips can be blue, or their nails can be blue as well. And there can be a grey tone within the skin as well. It's looking out for those signs.
It's not mentioned here, but also too, sometimes, the jaw can relax.
The jaw can,
I don't see it there, but it's a peculiar thing because we unconsciously keep our mouth closed, but someone close to death or through the jaw can fall to one side as well.
Yeah.
It's another thing I'd throw in there just in case.
It's taking that couple of seconds out just to ask yourself that question. Has that person maybe fallen asleep because of something else, is it an overdose?
You talked about administering a drug that can counter that. In what scenario might you have that about you, or access to that? It piqued my interest when you mentioned that.
Take for instance, you have a family member that's actively using opioids to an extent where they could be in danger. There is a drug called naloxone that you can administer. It used to be an injection into the thigh, but now it's just a nasal spray that goes up the nose.
Wow.
And even if the person isn't in an overdose, the drug will not do them any harm.
Okay.
It's harmless in an awful lot of scenarios, but to somebody in an opioid overdose, it could be the very thing that could save their life.
Why might someone have that, or how do you acquire that?
You would acquire it if you speak with your GP, speak with addiction services, speak with a lot of the services there. There is things in place that you can get that, and it's kept in your fridge at home.
Once it's mentioned, presumably there's a process that kicks in.
Ireland is actually a long way behind a lot of other countries, where you take a lot of countries, the police carry it in their car, council workers carry it in their truck. In America, Ireland, bureaucracy, there's a headache around it, but we're breaking down those barriers.
I'd want RNLI to have that as well.
Yeah,
okay, that's interesting. Yeah. That's actually almost a separate conversation. So we're marking this International Overdose Awareness Day, peer-to-peer coffee morning, Monday the 31st of August, which is actually this day week, isn't it?
This day week, and after it, from 1 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. there's a webinar as well that people can stay on and watch the webinar on our screen down there as well, where different people, different health professionals will be talking about the subject of overdose awareness.
The coffee morning, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in the Courtyard Shopping Centre, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny.
Yeah, and the one thing I would like to thank is our funders through Northwest through the Northwest Drugs Task Force, who are funding this morning for us through social inclusion and through the HSE. Without their help, we wouldn't be able to run events like this.
And who would you suggest, if people are listening to this and want further information or feel that we're talking about them, where's their port of call? Do you guys offer any support, or is it their GP, or what's...
We have 2 outreach workers who would be able to put people in touch with services who are able to help as well.
So that's what I'm talking about. But I didn't know, so I didn't want to put you in position. That's good points of contact.
Yeah. CDP have 2 outreach workers who do help people and their family members as well. And it's one of those things, we try and meet people's needs within the community, and that's one of the needs that's there within the community.
Okay, remember, support, prevent together. It's International Overdose Awareness Day. If anyone wants to contact the CDP, this area, what's the best way of doing so? Maybe a website or a Facebook page?
The CDP Facebook page has a messenger button on it as well that people can contact us about the event as well. Yeah,
couldn't be easier. If you have any further inquiries about next Monday, the 31st of August, down at the CDP office, a coffee morning, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and then afterwards you have the opportunity to sit and view a webinar covering a lot of what we've just been talking about as well. James, as always, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you.
We'll be back with the weather and comments after these.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, offering flexible mortgages up to €600,000 with no hidden fees or charges. Whether you're buying your dream home or thinking of switching your mortgage, make the move to your local trusted credit union. Learn more at letterkennycu.ie.
Summer's ending, but Buncrana is just warming up. The legends 2 Men 1 Pint are joining forces to unleash the ultimate 5-piece band, 5 Men 1 Pint. Catch them live at O'Flaherty's Bar Buncrana for our massive end of summer party on the 29th of August. Get your tickets online now or pay at the door on the night. Don't miss out. Funded by the Department for Culture, Communications and Sport.
Shane from Waterford saved big on his car insurance when he switched to Outsurance.
That's right. I saved €192 on my Ford Focus when I made the switch. And with the out bonus, I'll get 10% of my insurance premiums back in cash after 3 years claims free.
Sounds great. For a competitive car insurance quote, call 1-800 600 400 or visit outsurance.ie. Real people, unreal savings. Outsurance. You always get something out. Based on a like-for-like policy comparison in December 2025 for a 39-year-old who received a gratuity for their participation. Out bonus calculated less taxes and levies across all policies. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Outsurance DAC trading as Outsurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Who's watching your home while you're asleep, at work or on holiday? With the Sheridan Security Alarm System, you can be assured of round-the-clock monitoring. Our central monitoring station is on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals, giving you the peace of mind you deserve. Sheridan Security Systems, Bonagee, Letterkenny, protecting what you value most. Call us for a free quotation on 9126 6025.
Oat MG. Outstanding news. Frank and Honest oat coffees are now available at no extra cost. That's €3.50 for all regular Frank and Honest self-serve coffees, including oat lattes, cappuccinos and even oat flat whites. Need to get oat more? Then make it a Frank and Honest oat coffee in selected Centra and Super Value stores nationwide.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Get back to school sorted with our collection of school uniforms, shoes and accessories. Visit our kids department in-store or discover our back to school shop online at mchelhennys.com.
Okay, not a bad one. A dry day with sunny spells turning hazy at times. Highest temperatures of 19 to 22 or 23 degrees in light, occasional moderate east-southeast winds. Across the northwest region, more realistic temperatures 19 to 21 degrees. We were chatting to Councillor Martin McDermott about defective blocks. A caller says, a few days ago, a house beside me got a total paint job. This morning, there is a for sale sign up at €300,000. I've had enough of them, unscrupulous owners and sellers. I'm presently in the garage making a large sign to say defective blocks in my home. At least anyone entering the state will see the sign and ask the questions. But again, I understand where you're coming from, but like, one should not be selling a house that's got defective blocks without letting people know. But B, you will have to test before you buy, surely. The difference in prices from contractors is a lot. Our issue is contractors are getting frustrated waiting on the payments. They're basically an interest-free loan to homeowners. How is that fair? But I also think you know, like, I presume some of these projects in dealing with clearing the site and all that type of stuff, people put a different value on it. The thing about the market, it's an open, free market. And, you know, I would say there are some contractors saying, I'll do it, but, you know, I need a 60 grand on top for all the hassle or for the delays or for whatever it might be. So I would say individual companies are making decisions because there's plenty of other houses to build as well, right? So they're saying, right, I'll do that, but there's a premium with it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I presume that's what's going on to some extent. More on houses with DCB or suspected DCB, which are being sold as if not. Estate agents are selling defective houses by stating houses affected by defective blocks with bison slabs upstairs. As the law stands, there's no government legislation outlining what testing is required to inform a potential purchaser of the true condition of both the blocks and foundations. When is action going to be taken to stop the selling of these homes to unsuspecting buyers? How could anyone be an unsuspected buyer, though? I'm sorry to... I mean, like, even if someone tested their house and gave me the results of that test and I was going to pay $250, $300, $350, whatever it might be, I would want my own test. I'm not trusting them. That is the truth. So ultimately is the tester, not the tests on the house, unless some people are selling the houses looking for a free test. Surely that's not going on, is it? Hi, Greg. The amount of people that I'm chatting to has to rebuild their homes and are about 60, 70 or 100 grand of their own money short. It's a joke. And this government is sending millions to Ukraine. Only in Ireland would this happen. Only in Ireland would they have enough money to cover it all, by the way. Your money is not being taken from your house to send to Ukraine. That's also happening. And this scheme is billions. They're sending 24 million. But I do take your wider point. That's where we leave.